Are you going to be wearing a mask? Now that we've got the mask mandate lifted in Illinois, are your kids going to be wearing a mask? Now that the governor said there is no more mask mandate for schools. It's after an abrupt reversal, a 180 on Friday in just a handful of hours. The governor saying masks are still going to be required in schools. And then after the CDC, after the Supreme Court, the governor says, we're not going to have masks mandated in schools anymore. So I want to hear from you, reaction to that, but also I want to hear about whether you're going to or not going to wear a mask, because now it's up to you. It's your personal preference. So 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. I want to hear from you. Live and local here on WMAY. I'm Greg Bishop, and you can also email bishoponair@gmail.com, or you can find me on social media. Just search out Bishop on Air on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we can connect that way. But at 8:12, about 35 degrees, the sun is shining. You're on WMAY. Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, the governor didn't end the mask mandate. The Supreme Court did. The appellate court did, and Judge Grishauer did.
Well, I think that the real definitive moment was actually the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules blocking the governor's emergency rules for mask mandates. That I think is what the appellate court really hinged their decision on, saying that the issue's moot.
Well, I can agree partially on that, but this argument has been going on for a year and a half. So for a year and a half, we've been following something that never should have existed to begin with.
Well, but a lot of people were following those recommendations or mandates, however you want to call it. Others weren't. So, I mean, you got a lot of places in downstate Illinois, for instance, that just weren't. 217-629-7970, getting your reaction here on WMAY to the mask mandates no longer in place. Are you going to wear a mask? What about some of those state institutions, for instance? The Secretary of State's office, for example, they said that at driver service facilities, customers are no longer going to be required to wear a mask, but the employees are still going to be wearing masks. Has that changed? I need some of you out there who are state employees to let me know what you've heard from your management. Anything? And if they haven't been talking about this and sending out messages, what does that mean to you as an employee of the states that they haven't told you yet as to what the policy is going to be? Because now the CDC says they no longer recommend masks or face coverings unless it's an area of high COVID transmission and high hospitalizations for COVID. 217-629-7970. Your thoughts? You wearing a mask? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning. No, I never wore a mask, and I didn't fall for this ploy. But the more important thing is that now, after the last 2 weeks, it's so painfully obvious that this was just one big political game, that they used our kids as pawns. And I want to know when people are going to be held accountable for this. I don't want just them voted out of office. I want them charged for child abuse. This is ridiculous. It's so obvious now. And anybody who's still clinging on to these useless, harmful masks for kids should be, charged for child abuse. And people who forced them on their faces for the last 2 years should be held accountable.
And I don't know yet, have yet to get clarity on if daycares are still going to be required to mask kids. That seems to be just, if that is the case in Illinois, if the governor's still going to insist on that, we'll see. But it's.
Can you imagine how sick that is? That we have tiny babies with masks on their faces while these elected officials, and I use that term lightly, walk around flaunting the rules.
Or you got the Super Bowl, for instance, all of the celebs and even the governor of California not wearing a mask and so on. Yeah, I think people see that kind of double standard, and it's extremely frustrating. Again, 217-629-7970. Michelle on Facebook says, no mask. Haven't been wearing one for months. Pritzker's been pushing this out so that they can keep the emergency order in effect and continue getting federal funding. This is all a money grab, a big joke show, she says. So I want to hear from you now. 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Yeah, morning, Greg. Hey, I just wanted to say in reference to your question about daycare, they sent out notice to us that the kids didn't have to wear masks anymore starting today.
So as somebody who has a child in daycare, what does that mean for you as a parent, and what have you told your child? How have they been handling this the past 8 months?
Well, it's almost sickening, though. You go pick them up, as things started to wane away as far as masking goes, and they were so programmed to wear that mask. I mean, we're outside the daycare, we get in the car, and I look in the rearview mirror, and I'm like, take your mask off. I don't know. I've got my own personal beliefs about it. It's not popular with a lot of people, but I'll just say I haven't worn a mask for probably about a year now. But I'm glad that they're not putting them on our babies anymore, or not requiring that they're put on our babies anymore.
And that's the thing here is even the CDC said, listen, some people are going to choose to still wear masks. And that's the thing here. We're at a time now where it's your choice, at least according to the governor's mandates. Now, I know people out there are going to say it's always been your choice. People on Facebook saying, Greg, what does the law say? Greg, it's about the law. And the law does say, and this has been upheld in the Sangamon County Court, and the law says that if you are to be forced to undergo quarantine issues like masking or exclusion, you have due process. You can challenge that. You can go to the courts and say the state has to prove that I'm a health threat as to why I have to wear a mask or not be allowed in a place I'm allowed in, like a school for a kid. Law does not say you can have a blanket quarantine like that, but you can have the courts determine somebody's a public health threat and force them to quarantine. But until that time, you can't just have a blanket quarantine issue. So we'll see how that plays out now here moving forward. But this is an ongoing issue, and right now, it's not mandated, so your kids don't have to wear a mask in school. However, in CPS, they do have a mask requirement in schools, so that's going to play out. 217-629-7970 is the phone number. Get more of your calls. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hey, I'm kind of mixed on this. The whole problem is what people don't realize is the masks are supposed to keep you from spreading stuff. It's not really to keep you from catching. So,
and the CDC says if you're sick with COVID, you should wear a mask.
Well, honestly, I think if you're sick, period, and I get people don't have sick days, and a lot of people like my wife and I are self-employed where we may be going overseas a lot and everything else. But I saw some guy who totally disgusted me. He's over here coughing in his elbow. He's got spittle all down his beard and stuff. I mean, those are the people who should wear masks, but don't. I mean,
well, honestly, though, but if he's wearing a beard, the mask isn't going to help either. So maybe you should take the precaution yourself. If you're that disgusted by people around you, then maybe you should take the precaution and have that KN95 mask.
Well, I'm just saying that the people who are the problem are going to always be the problem. I think we should be like Japan, where just use sense. If you're on like a really tight space, use a mask. If you're in an open space, barbecues, don't wear a mask. And
again, that's entirely up to you as an individual. But to mandate such quarantine issues, at least in Illinois, I don't know if that complies with the law. 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Well, good morning, Greg. I believe that it's great that we have to get rid of those useless cloth masks, but I think that we're going to have to actually go to the MF14 biological and radioactive contamination mask, full face mask. Did
you say MF14?
Biological and radioactive contamination, full face mask, because of our President Putin cup there, and with the decomposing brain has got us into the Third World War pretty much. He's pretty much getting ready. He's doing such a great job.
We're not there yet, but appreciate it. I think I understand your position on masks. 217-629-7970. But really, I wanted to hear from some of you state employees out there and what's been conveyed to you. Are you allowed to go mask free in the place of employment? Because the CDC no longer recommends that you wear a mask unless it's a high transmission area. So what are you being told at work? 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Morning, Greg.
Hey.
I'm not a state employee, but my sister is. and she's not required to wear a mask as of today. So,
what agency is that? Do you know?
Department of Children and Family Services.
Interesting. Okay. So at least that's one anecdotal example. We'll see if we can get some confirmation on some of these things. But from others that I've talked with, they haven't been given definitive answers yet as to if masks are going to be coming off. So how do these employees handle this? 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Good morning. I don't want to say which agency, but we are under a legislative branch. And so we did have quite a few people telecommuting, and they still do, and some still work in the office. However, I had asked someone about, the last day or the beginning of March if that was going to be lifted, and they said, no, ours is extended till the end of March. And I said, why is that? Because the governor basically lost to the courts and through JCAR, so why do we have to keep, So their answer was they wanted to just have extra precaution for people in the office, for that, option. However, I thought it should be an option for a person to not wear it. It should be a choice at this point in time.
Well, and maybe it's to, where the individual interacting with another individual, that's where the decision's made, right? I mean, if you go up to somebody and say, would you like me to put my mask on? Would that make you more comfortable? Then you need to tell me that I need to put my mask on for you to be close to me.
But once again, it gets back to this whole thing with, the healthy and the sick. It gets back to if people are sick, quarantine the sick or stay home. Or if you are afraid to come around people, just work from home and let the rest of us go about our business and not have to wear the mask, because people have the option to work at home if they want to. So stay home, wear your mask, and be safe, and let the rest of us be done with this.
Appreciate the call. That's all we can get in today. Appreciate everybody chiming in. We may open it up for more phone calls here on the WMAY Morning News Feed. I'm Greg Bishop.